Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Berwick Toastmasters Club. Welcome to our online monthly member mentoring session. And I want to start with the Toastmaster Club mission. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And there is Toastmaster core value that we embrace on integrity, respect, service, and excellence. And here's our online meeting etiquette. Mute yourself if you're not speaking, and we encourage you reaction to support speaker as well as to be a more engaging session. Who may be used for voting. This is our online club, online event statement. This event will be recorded and recording will be shared in our social media. If you're not comfortable, you may leave now and watch the recording later. And with that, I will pass to our Toastmaster of the event, Mandy.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to attend our online meeting. We have got 3 speakers today and a panel that Joe is facilitating. The 3 speakers we've got, go back, Vongai, we've got John, and we have got Rebecca. So I'm really looking forward to hearing everyone's speech. So I will go through to our first speaker, who is Vongai, and she is doing her what pathway? Her title is Practice and Preparation. So Vongai, Practice and Preparation.
Thank you, Mandy, and good evening, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen where my presentation is. Can everyone see the screen, the presentation? Thank you. So, as Mandy has already mentioned, I'm going to be talking about practice and preparation. And this is something that is very important in Toastmasters when delivering a speech. And I would think that the majority of speakers, probably everyone in this room, recognizes the value of preparing and practicing when you have to deliver the speech. But what I think is very important is also understanding that when preparing and practicing for a speech, it's not only about coming up with ideas and writing those ideas down. I love doing that when I'm preparing for my speech, but there are also a whole range of other factors that you have to consider. And by doing that, you would understand that the difference between a truly excellent speaker and an average one lies in the amount of preparation that goes into their presentation. So I'm hoping that after this presentation today, you would have a better understanding of what would make someone an excellent speaker and what would help you to become an excellent and not just an average speaker. So let's look at the key considerations for preparing for a speech. Location and audience. I know that sometimes when you think about the speech, and this is something that I learned when I joined Toastmasters, I learned that knowing your location and knowing your audience is very important. By location, I mean the geographical location and also the venue, the room where you're going to be delivering that speech. I'll give an example of, with Lynbrook Toastmasters, when Toastmasters Club, I think it was a few weeks ago, I had to deliver a speech in that club. And as part of my preparation, I had to check where the venue is, because I had to factor in the distance, how long it's going to take me to get there. It really helped me because, sometimes when you get into the venue and rushing around, there's traffic, there's a lot of things that is going on. By the time you get there, even your breathing has already been affected. It's already time for you to give the speech. You don't give yourself time to relax, to get comfortable, and then deliver the speech. So it's very important to know where that venue is. And when it comes to the room, to the venue, the room arrangement, it's also very important. I didn't know the venue for Lynbrook. And by arriving there early, I had to familiarize myself with the room setup. That really helped me to see mentally, to see where I'm going to be standing and how I'm going to deliver my speech. It gave me time to do that. And also just connecting with the audience, because some of the audience, I knew them, but there were also new people there that I didn't know. And by connecting with the audience and just having an understanding, that also increases your comfort level and in turn helps you with your confidence. I included microphone usage there, and you might think, well, in Berwick Toastmasters, we don't often use the microphone. But this is very important to also consider in your preparation and practice when you have to deliver the speech, because you're not only going to deliver a speech at Berwick Toastmasters. There are going to be opportunities where you have to deliver speeches elsewhere. And depending with where it might be at a conference where there's a huge crowd where you need to use the microphone. It's important to know and to practice how to use the microphone. I know it's something that you might think, okay, I still know my speech, but because of the body language, your gestures, wanting to connect with the audience, a microphone can be distractive. It does get distractive for me because I get too excited and I just want to use my hands everywhere. So it's very important to practice. You can grab anything, use the microphone so that you're able to make use of that at any given situation. Room condition, like I said, is very important to have that understanding. What I do is, with room condition at Toastmasters, I bring my jacket just for me to be comfortable, and the visual aids as well. Have an understanding of how you're going to use your visual aids and decide whether you need someone to help you to do that and if the setup would allow you to do it. Now you've got your speech and you're rehearsing your speech. Practice, practice, practice. I'm going to quote Kayleen, who's in the room. That is very brave of me to be quoting someone in the room. But in Kayleen's book, Speaking is Not Worse Than Death, she speaks about practice, practice, practice until the fear dissolves. And she goes on to speak about the importance of speaking often. Speak every chance you get. Grab it and speak. We have got a lot of roles in Toastmasters that you can utilize to practice speaking. So you don't only have to wait until you have to deliver a speech to practice your speech. Make use of the roles. Sign up for being a grammarian, round robin, anything that you can sign up for, that would help you. And also it's very important to practice ideas, not words. Why it's important, if you practice ideas, you connect with the audience and you're not going to appear as a robot who's just singing a speech. It becomes natural because you've got a good understanding of what you're delivering. Prepare the speech, have a mental draft in your head to understand what you're going to talk about. When you're rehearsing, try to finish your rehearsal. I know sometimes when you're rehearsing, then you realize, oh, it's not really flowing. It's okay. That's where you can add those improvements as you rehearse, and then give yourself that feedback. Self-reflection, self-evaluation is very important. And also arrange your feedback if you've got a mentor, and also we get feedback from everyone. But also what is important, that has been very important for me, be kind to yourself. When you're giving yourself feedback, also recognize where you did well and where you need to improve. And those are just extra consideration that you have to do. And thank you, Mandy, because that is part of the preparation as well, to provide the Toastmaster with that introduction so that the audience understand, like, know you, they connect with you. It builds that momentum and that curiosity to want to know what you're going to talk about. So that's actually really fit well with what we're going to talk about. And physical preparation, I have to mention this because this is very important to me. When I'm hungry, I find it very difficult to deliver a proper speech. So physically, you also have to be physically prepared. Eat something, hydrate yourself, have a bottle of water. That will be very important. I'm going to leave you with this statement. Ample preparation and practice will help you feel assured, confident, and ready to give an outstanding performance. So I hope that we'll be able to consider everything that I've mentioned this evening and build our speech and keep on practicing, because that's how you become improve in your speech. Thank you, Toastmaster. Back to you.
Thank you, Vongai. I definitely liked the going to the venue, and I can tell you, going to the venue, it isn't just great for a speech. It's good to go to the venue before your first time of actually going, because I have a little secret in that the very first time I went to Toastmasters, I came so late because I didn't get to the place. I turned around and went back. I didn't arrive. I saw everybody in there and I was too scared to go in because I was like, I don't know, it might have been 5-10 minutes late. You probably would have been okay with it, but still, I was too scared and I drove back. So it's good to know your venue before anything, whether it's speech or not. Thank you. Our next speaker is John, and he is using presentation software and speaking for 5 to 7 minutes. And he is doing an educational piece on managing a difficult audience. John Ledgar, managing a difficult audience. Managing a difficult audience, John Ledgar.
Helps if I unmute myself. So I'll start again. Thank you, Mandy. As Mandy just mentioned, I'm doing an educational on managing a difficult audience. This is one of the projects that you will have to do when you are doing presentation mastery at level 4, or you can choose to do it as a level 4 elective. It's really important, this speech tonight, to help educate members on how to prepare for this project, because about half of our club is already doing managing a difficult audience. The intention of the Managing a Difficult Audience project is to give you the skills and understanding of how to manage different types of challenging behaviours you might meet in a meeting. It also gives you indications of how to handle those different challenges. As part of the project, you deliver a 5 to 7 minute speech. However, you are allocated 12 to 15 minutes to give extra time for the managing the challenging behaviours and addressing things that come up during the speech. Key point number 1, make sure you launch the project and go through it methodically. You want to make sure that you read every page, watch every video, because each of the videos give you an insight on how to handle different behaviours. Once you have done that and you're up to speed, then it's just the process of preparing your speech or using one that you've used before. During the project, you will learn about 6 different types of challenging behaviours. I'm not going to go through them now because you can all read them in the project. It's important to make sure that you pass on this information here, it's on here on the screen, to the VPE and the Toastmaster, because these are the little scripts that the role players have to follow. And it's important both for the delivering your speech, and also if you are one of the role players, review the material again. So again, it comes back to, like Vongai's speech, lots and lots of preparation. If you are one of the role players, the VPE or the Toastmaster will reach out to you and say, at this speech, we're doing the managing a difficult audience. We want you to take on this role. Understand the role. And it actually says on the page on the previous slide that you should read through all the different behaviors. You understand what they all are. And then again, review the material. Because even if you are just acting as the role, you need to know what's happening in order to be able to fulfill your duties. So preparing for the project, you've done you've launched the project, you've read through it, you have done all the activities in it. You need to reach out to the VPE, because you need, as I mentioned earlier, a 12 to 15 minute slot to make up for the time that the disruptions take. You also need to give the VPE and the Toastmaster the little slips so that they can start their part of organising who the role players are, because as the speaker, you are not supposed to know who is doing the role play, so that it is genuinely an interruption rather than, oh, I'm anticipating someone to do it. Where the timer is already down on the agenda, reach out to the timer to give them an idea of the timing that you are wanting for your speech. So the speech is 12 to 15 minutes. So you may reach out and say, right, green at 12, yellow at 14, and red at 15, or whatever you decide. And make sure you update your speaker bio. And it's more important to put that what the project is, not necessarily what the speech title, like what your speech is about. And the speaker bio needs to address that you are doing the managing difficult audience, and that this is not normal etiquette that you will see throughout this speech. So moving on the day of the meeting, you want to reach out to the timer, confirm the timing that you have come up with. Confirm with the Toastmaster that all the role players have been briefed and are present for the meeting. And also confirm that the Toastmaster has the introduction for the speech. Two notes to look at when the speech is being delivered. As a role player, we're not supposed to be antagonizing towards the speaker. We fulfill our role. As soon as the speaker is able to address our behavior, we stop. But we also have to be respectful. On the other side, as the speaker, once we have been able to respond to the behaviors, move on with your speech. So regather yourself and get back into your speech and continue as you would normally. Oh, well, it looks like I've come to the end. So I'll leave you with this quote here from James Baker. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. So with lots of preparation, as has been mentioned, and also communication, usually you can deliver the managing a difficult audience project. Back to you, Mandy.
Thank you, John. I look forward to seeing lots more of the managing of difficult audience speeches. Sounds like we've got a few coming, and I actually have to say they're quite fun at the same time, watching someone squirm through while someone is interrupting them. And it is just one of those things that kind of gets a little bit funny because we just don't do that type of behavior at Toastmasters. So it's kind of fun at the same time as a good learning experience for the speaker. So our next speaker is a guest speaker, is Rebecca Plush, and she is doing an education piece, which I'm very interested in, which is high performance leadership program. So Rebecca Plush, high performance leadership program, Rebecca Plush. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mandy, and hello, Berwick Toastmasters. As you know, Berwick, sorry. As you know, I know Kayleen, and she often asks me to help out with these things, which I love doing. So glad to be back again. So the High Performance Leadership Project is one of my favourite things to do. I've done it under the traditional system, the old system, whatever you want to call it, and I'm looking forward to doing it again under Pathways. Now, a lot of people get scared by the High Performance Leadership Project. They think, oh, I'm going to do the big project, it's going to be massive, it's going to take years. Yeah, no. You need to find a project that works for you. So when I did this the first time round, I did a project, I developed a communication educational, a facilitated panel. So I had 3 experienced Toastmasters, and then I had people come along and I facilitated that, and we had a conversation about communication. I only had a couple of months to prepare, but it was great. But what are the elements of a good high performance leadership? It needs to be something you're interested in doing. And by that I mean it needs to be a project that you are enthusiastic about. You need to be able to pick something that is not going to take you years and years and years and millions of dollars, because I don't know about you, but I don't have that kind of time or that kind of money. So you need to think of a project that works for you. It does not have to be Toastmasters related. Someone I know did a project on providing Christmas lunch for her religious organisation. She had Toastmaster people on the guidance committee, but on the action committee, she had a different group of people. So let's talk about those committees. The guidance committee is about you. It's some people you pick who will help you go through the leadership aspects of a high performance leadership project. My second favourite thing to do with the project is be on the guidance committee, because you really get to see someone learn and grow about their own leadership and grow in their own leadership as they do the project. Sometimes they'll stumble and you get to help pick them up. Sometimes they'll achieve and you get to cheer them on. It's a wonderful opportunity to take, and I recommend, if you get the opportunity, to do it. When you're doing the high performance leadership project, you need to pick a guidance committee. I think 2 or 3 people is a good option, but you need to pick people that are different but can work together. If you have 3 people with the same opinion, it's a bit like being surrounded by yes people. You're not going to learn a lot. You want people who will challenge you and agree with you and disagree with each other when it works well. For an action committee, you need the people who are actually going to do the work. You're the project leader. That does not mean you do everything. So not only do you learn leadership, you learn delegation as part of a high performance leadership project. For me, I was bad at delegation. I still occasionally am bad at delegation. So it's something I'm still working on. But the high performance leadership project really helped me out in working out what I could delegate and what I shouldn't delegate and how I should delegate it. And that's where I lent on my guidance committee. I asked them, I'm thinking about giving this to Bob, picking a name. Do you think that makes sense? And they won't actually answer yes or no. They say, well, have you considered this or this or this? So they don't answer the question for you. They guide you in your thinking to make the decision yourself. And that is where the guidance committee is golden. Having those people there just for you, just to help you with your project. Now, it's all in Pathways. A lot of Pathways have the high performance leadership. One of the programs I'm doing is dynamic leadership, and it's in there as a level 5 elective. Now, I will be doing that when I do some other projects first. But you don't have to do the projects in order anymore. I don't know, for those of you who were around when Pathways first came out, you had to go level 1, level 2, level 3. Now they've realised that sometimes you need to jump. So perhaps you've got something coming up. Perhaps you're organising a birthday party and you'd like to use that as your high performance leadership project. Do it. Find the elective or the project that makes where it fits in your path and just do it now. There's nothing wrong with that. The Pathways Basecamp material is really quite excellent around the high performance leadership. It used to be you got a manual, you got guidance committee manuals and all that sort of stuff. But I have to say the Pathways project material is excellent and does not kill as many trees. Like we've heard before today, read the material, don't skip through it. I have a tendency to skip through everything and it means I miss stuff. So I have taught myself when it comes to things like that to stop, read again, because half the time I forget, and go from there. And also make sure your guidance committee knows what you're looking for in that regard. So when I do a project, I'm very bad at organisation, and Kaylin can attest to that. So what I do is I make sure I have someone around me who's really good at organisation. Now, for a high performance leadership project, I get someone on my guidance committee to help me keep the schedule of meetings and keep on track to the project plan. The person keeping me honest, because that's where I need help. Someone like Kaylin, who's amazingly organised, does not need that kind of person on their committee. They need a different kind of person. And it's up to everyone to work out who you need. You need to be able to trust your guidance committee, because you're going to be asking a few tough questions and maybe revealing some things about yourself. But most of all, you need them there, as I said, to be your cheerleaders when you need them. Pretty much just be your cheerleaders when you need them. I think that's the best way to go with that. Some other parts of the high performance leadership project, there's a beginning speech which you give at your club saying this is what I'm going to do, and there's a speech at the end that said this is what I did and what I learned about it. But for me, that's just like the icing. I reckon the main part of the cake is what you learn along the way about yourself and your leadership style. So just to wrap that up, pick people you can trust on your guidance committee, pick people who you know will do the work on your action committee to actually do the work. Pick a project you're passionate about, or at least enthusiastic about, and don't try to make it bigger than Ben-Hur, because that just doesn't work. But you know what the biggest hint I've got about high performance leadership is? Have fun. It should be fun. Learning should be fun, because you learn more in moments of enjoyment, to misquote our founder, Rouse East Medley. So ladies and gentlemen, members of Berwick Toastmasters, look at the high performance leadership project, think about what you've got coming up, and give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. I'm hoping not too much would happen, but that would be the absolute worst. I had kids screaming in my ear and I was going, I'm hoping that's not one of my kids, but no, it wasn't. So I was getting a little bit distracted there. I'm sorry. Thank you for that. And I will definitely remember to have fun. And I think that's a really good key for any of our speeches that we do, really, not just the ones that are the high performing ones and the level 5 ones. Our next thing that we're actually going to do is a panel discussion, which is Joe. So Joe is going to, I'll hand it over to Joe. He's going to do a panel discussion. So thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and welcome fellow Toastmasters to this amazing panel. We've got Vongai, who did her first speech, not her first speech, but she was first up this evening, recognising the value of preparation. And I've lost the title. P&P, I've got it as P&P. Let's call it P&P. Then followed by John, and then followed by the lovely Rebecca. I'm going to start with a question to Vongai. Please, if any of the audience members have a question that they would like to ask, you can send that to me in the chat format. And if you just pick my name, then nobody else can see it. That's fine. If you want everybody to see it, that's also fine too. But no, if you select my name, you can direct message me. and I can ask the panel. But I'm going to start with Vongai, first of all, as you were first up to speak. Vongai, well, first of all, I just want to say amazing presentation, and I've got practice ideas was my key takeaway, and also be kind to yourself. I mean, I really, really resonated with that. Can you share an instance where feedback specifically for you played a crucial role in your development?
Thank you, Joel. That's a very good question, because I've been thriving on feedback in Toastmasters from the moment I started until now. But if I'm to think of one example, I found it to be very valuable when I got feedback from almost everyone when I did my practice on the speech contest that I was doing, that I'll be doing next week. That was very interesting because there were different views, and the feedback was, I got a variety of views, and that really helped me in my preparation. And I have been utilizing that feedback in my speech, not only for this upcoming contest, but every speech, even today when I was delivering my speech, I have a file that I filed all the yellow papers, because it was yellow for everyone, I remember very well. And I've been referring back to that feedback. So that was very valuable for me. And I think something that I learned from that, I know we get the feedback from evaluators, but it's always important, even when you're networking, to just ask your fellow Toastmaster, like, what did you think about my speech? It really helps, because there's something that someone might not have picked. Thank you.
Thank you, Vongai. Yeah, that's so important. Love that, love that. Next up, I'm going to go to John. And can you just explain how in the disruptive meetings, how are the role plays distributed throughout the speech? Is there a format? Like, how does that work?
That was something I looked and I didn't find an answer. So as a recommendation from doing, so I've been through the project, I think 3 times now, and I also had did some work with it on Saturday with Kayleen, or Sunday. It is a recommendation that, you know, that we've sort of come to, that the role play should be distributed, you know, roughly evenly throughout the speech. If we have them all at the start, like all 1, 2, 3, 4 straight after, that means that the person delivering the speech only has to manage the disruptions for a short period of time, and then they can just deliver the rest of the speech as normal. The whole idea of the project is you start your speech, deal with a disruption, recover, continue your speech, deal with another disruption, recover, and so on and so forth, till you've till all the disruptions have been dealt with, and then you complete your speech as per usual. So there's no specifics in the project where it says that, but it is a recommendation for either in discussion with the Toastmaster or just the role players just coming together and going, right, I'll do it really quick. Yep, I'll wait a few minutes, and that sort of thing.
Oh, thanks, John. Yeah, that's really great, because it's a pathway that I would like to do, and it's sort of a concern, shall I say, for me. Rebecca, I'm just going to ask you, just bring in your wisdom, because I'm sure you've done a disruptive speech. Have you got anything to add to that?
I recently was one of the role players in one of these speeches. So I'm helping do some training for District 70 and one of the facilitators. And what we actually did is, what one of the people training us as the facilitators asked some of us to be those disruptive influencers. So he knew who, but he didn't know what we were going to do or when we're going to do it. And so I had a great deal of fun being the grumpy person who knows better than everybody else, I should just keep on talking. It's all about me. Now, I had to stop myself grinning because I was enjoying myself thoroughly. But I also knew the person who was speaking reasonably well. I knew how far to push it. So one of the key things about this speech, and when I've done it myself, is both sides of that, is to make sure you know how far you can push a person. You don't want to push them so far they break, but you want to challenge them. And I think that's really important. So if, as one of the role players, you're not sure, then like I saw in the chat, make sure you discuss with your other role players. If you don't know the person really well, maybe discuss it with someone who does, so you know how far you can push it. But it is also one of the most fun times I ever have at Toastmasters, is both handling it and being a disruptive person. So like everything I say, have fun with it, jump in with both feet, but just be a little bit conscious of who you're talking to.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because ultimately in real life, if you're out in the real world and you've got that situation, it can take you to your limits. So you might not know how to handle it, or have that, I guess, build that resilience, which I'll lead on to you for just another question. And then I'm going to redirect this question back to the other members of the panel, is how do you build up your resilience for, I remember when I first started at Toastmasters, I was so nervous. Like, how do you work on that? Because I mean, I've listened to Oprah, the massive mentor, who she says that it never goes away. And I guess that shows that you care by having that nerve. I'm going to call it nervousness, whatever you can frame it as, whatever. But how have you coped with that, or learned to work with it through your journey? And then going back through the other members as well, I'd like to hear your views.
No worries. So I joined Toastmasters 26 years ago next February. Yeah, I'm ancient. But I didn't join because I was scared of public speaking. I love public speaking. I always have. I used to do school plays. I was in an orchestra. I wasn't very good, but I was in an orchestra because I like that sort of thing. But I'm not the normal person in that regard for joining Toastmasters. But what that did, though, is it did give me a level of complacency when I first turned up. And I couldn't give a conclusion to a speech to save my life. It was really my biggest weakness. My second biggest weakness was evaluation. And so I started to get nervous about them when I realized these were the things I needed to work on. So I worked with my mentor, who's a lady called Lorna Fazaldine, about conclusions. And yes, Kaylee knows Lorna too. And I worked on conclusions. And so I got better at conclusions. And the only way to really do it is practice. As we've heard today, practice. Just jump in and do it. Toastmasters is a great place to try everything. But for the evaluation, I went out and started to deliver Evaluate to Motivate at other clubs, the little training module. So I learnt by teaching. So again, you just got to jump in and do it, right? Yeah, I was nervous. When I realized how bad I was at certain things, I was really nervous about it. But the only way to get past it is just to keep on trying.
Love that. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, Rebecca. John, have you got your?
Well, I guess in some ways similar to Rebecca, I'd been having to do it on and off through my teaching as a Freemason. I was a master for 2 years, but even before that, I was doing lots of presenting. But for me, like, the biggest part is getting concise. Now, as far as how I manage like those nerves and things like that, practice is, doing it over and over and over again, like Rebecca has said. But the other thing is that, like, I quite often say to people, look at those nerves as like fuel to help you, so it's like that nervous energy, and you quite often you see it in sportsmen, or sports people, that the energy the nerves and energy will be building up, and all of a sudden they'll start jumping around and things like that. Now, you can't really do that at Toastmasters, but you can channel that energy into your speech. So that's what I aim to do.
Love that. Thanks, John. And what about you, Vongai? I'd love to hear your take.
Yeah, very similar to John and Rebecca, but what has really helped me, I remember my very first speech, I was talking to Kayleen and I said, oh my God, I don't think I'll be able to speak anything because my throat will be very dry. I'll be so scared to say anything. And it really helped to just have a bottle of water because that's what she recommended. Just have water. When they're now introducing you, just have a sip. And I did have a sip, and that helped me with my thought. So though just having those techniques and strategies to help you, I was very nervous. My legs were shaking, but just looking at everyone being comfortable to go in front and remembering that Toastmasters is a safe place. Everyone is there to learn. Growth is an ongoing thing. Everyone wants to grow, and just being there and having people to support you, that was very helpful. And I think the other thing was I love telling anyone and everyone about my stories, and just hearing from Toastmasters, from Kaylin, the beauty of storytelling in Toastmasters. That makes me have fun with my speeches because I'm talking about my stories. So storytelling has really helped me as well. Thank you.
Lovely. I'm going to stick with you, Vongai, and go back through the panel like an S on my screen. On your flow chart, Vongai, your last word was arrange. So can you explain a little bit about that, and why did you choose arrange? Why did you choose the word arrange?
Okay. So with arrange feedback, so that was arrange for feedback.
Yeah.
And that was speaking to, once you have done your rehearsal, you have to make sure that you have someone who will be able to offer you that feedback, and you have to start by offering yourself feedback. How did you go with that rehearsal? And that has been very important to me because I can be very self-critical of myself. And when I provide that feedback to myself, by the time I go to deliver that speech, I'm having this wild thoughts like, oh, that was a terrible rehearsal, or you made a lot of mistakes. And by the time I get in front of people, I'm just thinking about those negative words. So I've really been trying to learn about when I'm arranging that feedback, I actually use the format that we use in Toastmasters. I have to think about what I did well when I was rehearsing and what do I need to improve. And then arranging feedback with, obviously you arrange with your evaluator. It's very important for your evaluator to know what you want to gain from that evaluation. So have that communication with the evaluator. Okay, this is the speech that I'm going to deliver, and I'm working on, for example, my body language. This is something that I've been struggling with, so that the evaluator knows what to focus on, and you get that valuable feedback.
Oh, I love that, especially that sentence there that you said, I like to offer myself feedback rather than give myself feedback. I think that flip of that word, rather than give, it can be, well, I'm going to give you a sweet. It's like, whereas when you offer it to yourself, it's more of a reverence to it rather than, quite severe, and a more gentler approach. Thanks, Vongai, for sharing that. John, over to you next. What about unprepared speeches, particularly in contests? How do you go about preparation for those?
Well, to be honest, when with the table topics, I really struggled. I think with any prepared speech, I always try to go in slowly and take my time so that I can have the maximum amount of time to think about what I'm going to be saying. Whether it's table topics or evaluation, like keeping in mind what the purpose is. So table topics, it's a question. Evaluations, it's honoring what they've done well, but also offering, a recommendation. And in that case, being aware that, the recommendation can be on a strength as well. So yeah, it's, I think prepared speeches, it's go slow and then build yourself up.
Mhm. Yeah, nice. Thank you. Thank you for that. Rebecca, I know you've already said you've got so much experience in Toastmasters. And I've recently become a mentor. What are some things that I could do to prepare from my respect as a mentor to prepare my mentoree? You know, to prepare her or him, whatever, so I can feel more that I'm prepared.
Look, mentoring is a great honour. I've always loved it, and it's something I don't get to do all the time because I'm a bit busy, and I won't commit to it unless I can commit to it. So my first advice is don't say yes unless you can actually commit to it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to spend 7 days a week doing it, but you need to be able to commit and be realistic with what you can commit. So if it's an hour a week, it's an hour in a week, and that may be enough. If it's, you know, half a day, I don't know. Work out between you and your mentee what you can commit. So, but first of all, you need to know what you can commit, and you need to be realistic, because the worst thing you can do is say, yes, I can do this, and then disappear. No ghosting of mentees. That's my big one. The second thing is you don't have to be an expert at the thing you're mentoring someone in. Now, I heard that from a former, well, when he was the international president, Balraj. I'm not even trying to say his last name, I can't say it. But he has coached world champions of public speaking, but he's never been a world champion himself. And his point was, just because you're not the expert, you can't do something, doesn't mean you can't help someone else achieve that greatness. It's a bit like Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, ignoring the sociopath that is Sherlock Holmes, but the principle of you don't have to be the light, you need to be a conductor of light, to misquote Sherlock Holmes. So you need to find a way to help the mentee be themselves and to learn. So a lot of being a mentor is listening non-judgmentally and helping the mentee to find their own way. But again, it's not something you can prepare all you like, but until you're actually in the session with the person, having an honest conversation, you're really not going to know what you're going to need to do until then. So just be open, be relaxed, be committed, be realistic. And as always, as I say, for everything, it should be a bit of fun too.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for that. Thank you for that advice. Taken to heart. Vongai, over to you. How and actually I think this will go around, that we'll do another round robin with this question. How do you plan to continue it? How do you plan to continue developing your skills, taking on new challenges through the lens of effective communication?
That's a great question, and quite a mouthful. But I think just the space in Toastmasters would help me to build on that effective communication, because we're always communicating. It always gives us that space to do that. What has been very valuable for me, making use of the space in Toastmasters, like I said, and taking on those roles, but also listening to speeches, not only in the Toastmasters space. I have developed an interest since I joined Toastmasters to listen to other speakers, be it on YouTube, every platform, TED Talks, all those platforms where you see speakers talking and just communicating how they deliver their speeches and how they communicate with the audience, and the tips that has really helped me to build, my communication. And I make sure that I make use of the space that I get with my mentor, building on what Rebecca was saying. If I'm not sure about anything and I just feel like there is a certain point that I need to grow on, then I have those discussions with my mentor as well. And networking in Toastmasters, like even before the meeting starts or after the meeting, those small talks has really helped me to develop my communication.
Nice. I love that. Actually, so I'm aware of time and I've got some questions still to ask the panel. So I'm going to shoot to the next question for John. How do you overcome audience overdoing a disruption? And how do we ensure this does not kill the preparation that we've done?
I think that really comes down to that preparation. One, the speaker, but also the audience. You know, the members taking on the role playing need to do the project. It sort of does come back to that concept, like Rebecca was saying earlier. You know, the members knowing how far they can push someone. But I think it is key that not only the speaker doing the project. I think if the members taking on the role plays know what's going on, then they'll know. Okay, yep, he's dealt with my challenge. I need to shut up. And I think just unfortunately sometimes ego sort of people think it's, and they just continue going. But I think if as the speaker, remaining as professional as you can and as calm as you can, and maybe even going to the point of going, thank you, but how about we can discuss that further at the end or something like that after the meeting or something like that, if it needs to be cut off.
Yeah, cut off gracefully, I guess, is the thing. Thanks, John. And over to you, Rebecca. When would you suggest to start planning your high performance module?
Now, having said that, let me just expand on that a little bit more than one word. Think about it. So have in the back of your mind, because like a good speech topic, something will pop into your head. So perhaps, like my friend did, they have a Christmas dinner they want to organise at their church. And so they start planning, they volunteer to take it on and start planning now. Perhaps you're doing something completely unrelated and you think, oh, yes, I'd love to organise a speech contest for my club. So just be open to whatever pops into your head and pick the project that speaks to you. So it's not just about, if you're like me, you have too many ideas and don't know where to put them all. So they have no ideas or all the ideas. It's really annoying sometimes. But what you got to do is find that middle ground where you're like, yes, I really want to do this. And yes, I want to spend time on this project. This is where a mentor can be really helpful. And it doesn't matter how long you've been a Toastmaster, a mentor, even if they're just a sounding board, is a wonderful thing. So use someone to bounce that idea off and work out, and I've done this with Kayleen when preparing a speech, bounce the ideas until you come to the point. I bounced around a speech idea for so long, and then finally I got it, and it was a winning speech, and I got to area. And it made a huge difference because it coalesced into a real thing for me. So I actually find bouncing ideas off someone or some people that you trust, but just be open to it and just have that little book and go, oh, yes, my next speech, I must talk about this. Oh, yes, my next project, I must think about this. And just write them down and keep them so you've always got them. But just be open to the possibility popping into your head.
Thank you. Well, thank you all to our panelists here, Vongai, John and Rebecca. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us at Berwick. What a great evening we've had here. So much preparation is everything. It's prep, and more prep. Thank you to all the questions that came through to the panel. Really appreciate it and trust you had your questions answered. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Joe. That's great questions, by the way, Joe. That was really good, and I hope I learned some things, so I'm hoping everybody else did as well. It was definitely good to get some insight into how other people prepare and how a different speeches should be done, or how to some guidance and recommendations and what you can be doing. So that is really good. Thank you. Now next, we're now up to the evaluation part of our meeting, and our first evaluation is on speaker 1, who is going to be Rebecca. So Rebecca is going to be doing an evaluation on Vongai.
Thank you very much, Mandy. Keeping the bottle of water nearby, as it is a really good idea. Thank you very much, Vongai, for your speech today. I really enjoyed it because you were enjoying it, or at least that's the way it came across. I felt like you were really enjoying what you were talking about, which made me enjoy what you were talking about. I think we often underestimate the importance of having a good time while giving a speech, even a tough speech, because the audience will feel what you're feeling. And it's a really good way to connect with the audience is to get them to come along that path with you, whether it be sadness, whether it be enjoyment, whether it be laughter, whether it be learning. So that was an excellent way to go for the speech like this. I really liked your slides as well. I like the content. I like the way they were done. But here's something I would like you to think about for next time is to show them as a PowerPoint, like the proper slideshow, not just selecting them in PowerPoint. It looks better. That's what John did with his speech. And they just look better. It's nothing more than that. And people can't get a sneak peek of what you're about to say. So it's also really good if you want to do a bit of the element of surprise. So it is a skill, and it is one of those things you need to just practice and just try. I have to do presentations like that at work all the time, so I have learned how to do it. But it's one of those things, try it here at Toastmaster so you can take it wherever you need to go, because it can really make a difference with a speech. But as I said, the content of the slides was really excellent. It was very much a case of let's just make it look prettier. I really enjoyed the way you were using your, how do I put this? You were moving around forwards and backwards and making points. Now, there wasn't a lot of these sorts of gestures, like with hands and stuff, but, you know, if you've got your camera and a virtual background, they fade out anyway. But I like the fact that sometimes you're leaning forward, you're talking a bit faster and a little bit more excited, and you're back a bit and a little bit less slow, a bit less fast and doing things like that. Because again, you're making points by even just that motion. One of the things I would like you to think about for next time, and again, it's hard until you practice on Zoom, is to actually find that middle ground where you can lean in, you can lean back, but you also get the hands involved as well. Now, whether, especially in a speech contest virtually, which a lot of them aren't now, but you need to not have a virtual background because otherwise the movements get lost, but you need to find a way to give movements that aren't distracting. We all struggle with that, and during COVID, I learned a lot of techniques I've now forgotten. But you just need to, again, it's a practice thing. And maybe it's you sit back further so you have more room, or maybe it's you stand up against a blank wall so you have your whole body present. Well, champions have done it in different ways at the final. So find out what works for you. Overall, I really enjoyed your speech. You had a lot of great content. You're very enthusiastic. You're enjoying yourself, which made me enjoy myself. Just look at those couple little technical things about presenting online, and I think your next speech will be magnificent, even more magnificent than this one was today. Thank you very much, Vongai.
Thank you, Rebecca. We move on to our second evaluation for the speech, and this one is by Alex is doing his first evaluation. So thank you, Alex, for volunteering to do this for your first time. When we're doing an evaluation, just so that you know, just to make sure we did go through it, but it is something that's good, sandwiched in with some improvements with something that's good is a good way of doing it. I always think of Pip, but but I'm not sure that we use that or the sandwich. So Alex, if you could you're doing your speech evaluation of 2, who is John? Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. Good evening, everyone. Like Mandy said, it is my first attempt as a feedback evaluator. So if I need to know any rules and regulation with Toastmaster, please do let me know so that I try to learn and provide a better feedbacks going forward. John, it was beautifully said. Your message was well structured. I personally like the way you delivered because the topic was managing a difficult audience and you have shared presentation slides. So the guidelines, for me personally, if I need to, when you try to explain a guideline, when you try to explain something, having guidelines I can able to visualize while I'm listening. So that was very well said and also shared with the presentation slides. So please continue to do so that we can all learn, from you going forward. The purpose of the speech is how to deliver the speech, and the role. Managing a difficult audience, and you have also explained from a speaker point of view as well as audience point of view. So often, when I try to deliver a speech, I do think how I'm going to say it, what I'm going to say it. I don't think from the audience point of view. So that example that you have given, that's something I quite liked it, and I also would like to add into my speech going forward. One thing I would request you to consider, if possible, when I, for example, when I was looking at you, so your body language, for example, I was only able to see your hands. So perhaps if you sit a bit back like this, just 1.5 meter away from your screen, at least, I can see for your full body language. This is something, may add value to, to your speech. So this is the only thing I would request you to consider if possible. But apart from that, beautifully said, and the way you finished it as well, prior preparation prevents poor performance. That actually tells what exactly or how well you should prepare a speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. That was a well done for your very first evaluation. Look forward to seeing that in competition next year. So yeah, thank you for that, and you did really well. Just a little quick evaluation for you. Our next evaluation is Grace, so she's evaluating Rebecca, so that's speaker number 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy, and good evening to all my fellow Toastmasters. And thank you so much, Rebecca, as well, for your fantastic speech. I feel like I learned so much through that, and definitely a lot of areas to think about within pathways and moving forward. I loved your body language, and quite similar to when you were evaluating Vongai, your use of the closeness to the camera was awesome. Your gestures right at the start were a little bit low, but I saw that improve as you got a little bit more comfortable. So I don't know if it was comfortability or awareness, but yeah, definitely improved. One thing that I would say I might have missed as I was writing my notes, but your smile. So there are a couple of times I saw it and it was beautiful and it was awesome, but it's just a way to warm up the speech. So I'd love to see it a little bit more. Your eye contact was was awesome. Yeah, you were always looking towards the screen. It didn't look like you had any notes or anything that you were referring to. I don't know. Yeah, again, maybe it was because you didn't have any. You just knew your content so well. So that's even better. There were a couple of word merges that I noticed, which I thought perhaps could be improved on. And I think it's harder online as well, because occasionally the connection's not as great. So when you do those word merges, and by word merges I mean words that sort of all come together and sound like they're one, it can be slightly hard to understand. I didn't find that as a major issue. I still understood the content. I understood everything you were getting across, but just one thing to watch out for. Your pace was amazing. You got through everything quite well, and you got that excitement through. When you were excited, the pace increased and we got excited with you. So that energy was definitely there. There was also a gentleness to your voice when you were speaking about any anecdotes and about yourself. And I thought that was really a beautiful thing to bring into the speech. Finally, I loved that final summary again, especially if you didn't have notes, which it looks like from your responses that you might not have. That summary was golden, just summarizing all of those key points in one sentence, I believe it was. And it just meant that we had those key takeaways to write down at the end. So thank you again for an amazing speech, Rebecca. And I'll pass it back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Grace. And we're coming up to the next one, which is the evaluation of our fantastic panel that we had. So the panel moderator evaluation is being done by Kayleen. Kayleen, thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. And well done, Joe, for leading the panel. Yay! And thank you to our panelists as well. It was definitely a team effort today with Joe steering the ship for that panel. And Joe, you really set the tone and the energy with your beautiful style and nature of speaking. You always make, whether you're in Toastmaster role or panel moderator role, you make people feel comfortable when you're leading the meeting or the discussion. So that definitely shone through today. I particularly liked how at the start you told the audience how to contribute questions to be part of this panel. So that was really clear. And you got that done at the start so that everybody knew what to do and they could send off those questions. The questions, fabulous demonstration of how to do a panel discussion. We had questions for individuals. We had questions that went to one person and then went to another panelist to add an additional insight into relation to that question. And then we also had a question that went to all the panelists. So we saw 3 different techniques that you can use in a panel. So thank you for doing the homework, for doing the research for this project, and then applying the different techniques in here as well. I also like the style of questions. We had questions related specifically to the topics that the speakers were talking on tonight. But then you also brought in about a question about, like, in the beginning, at the start, how did you prepare back then? And that was the question that went to everybody. And we have a lot of new members in the club. So that's something that will really be relevant to the members in our club right now. I also like it's contest time. This weekend, we've got our area contest. So it's a great time to ask John that question around preparation for contests, because it is slightly different. And then finally, you brought in about being a mentor and what you could do for preparation in that space. And you went to Rebecca, who does have many, many years of experience in Toastmasters and as a mentor. So I liked how you focus on the topic that they said, but you also went beyond that, but stayed within the theme around preparation. I feel that as an audience member, I learned so much more about preparation today, got lots of different tips, but also got lots of value add from watching you as the panel moderator and how you kept the energy going and how you asked everybody the questions. So well done, Joe. Back to you, Mandy.
Thank you, Kayleen. I think just with your evaluation, you just keep those key points that we got from the panel, and they just help to stick that in our mind, I think. Our next evaluator is Kiru, who is doing the Toastmaster of the meeting evaluation. So Kiru, thank you.
Thank you very much, Toastmasters. Good evening to Mandy for the introduction. Fellow Toastmasters, I'm standing in front of you to do an evaluation just for the Toastmaster of the evening and not for any of the evaluators as described in the agenda. First and foremost, Mandy, well done on conducting this meeting very well. I will talk about 4 things which I really like as a TMOD or Toastmaster evening, and 1 point where you can attempt the next time to improve upon. First one is time management. It was to the dot that you will not believe Kaylin started her evaluation at 8:36, 2 minutes prior to her assigned time. That's a wonderful time management that you really did. Second is the post a speaker speech. You were able to give the key takeaways which you felt is that is important from the speaker's speech. That started with Vongai and also it did for the same other two speakers as well. I think that is key in the post-speech transition as the Toastmaster of the evening who really does that. Third is that when you're giving introduction, you did not steal the thunder of the role players. You ensured that the role players are given enough importance and you maintain that they are the heroes of the show and not overtake them. I really like that particular attitude of yours, actually. And that is quite key for a TMOD, not to take the thunder away from the role players. We had to play a subtle role. And more importantly, audience is looking forward for the next speaker's speech more than the TMOD's words. And very important, what I felt so, you were very encouraging for all the role players and particularly for the role players who were taking it for the first time. So you made Alex so comfortable. If I was wearing Alex shoes, I would have given a similar evaluation as Alex has given as a first time. If had it been someone else, I would have knocked off. Very well done. Having said those 4 good things you already mentioned, what one thing which I would like you to do something different, or I would do as Toastmaster of the day, is giving the speaker's introduction. So this is called pre-speech introduction. This is an important part in the transition. So what I would have done for Vongai is that before Vongai started her speech, I would have said, for the Toastmaster, first speaker is Vongai. Vongai is working as a social service business, helping people. Vongai joined Berwick Toastmasters a year ago and has already given 10 speeches already in our club. She's a person who always comes early to a meeting. I really don't know why she comes early to the meeting. Probably it's part of the preparation. So let's listen to Vongai on preparation before presentation. So that would have added value to the audience. So that have brought an introduction to the audience. Or for Rebecca, for that matter, Rebecca has been in Toastmasters for 26 years, which is nearly my age or your age. So she has achieved highest credit 3 times, and doing an HPL is a mandatory aspect in Toastmasters to get DTM. So who else better can share about HPL? Let's welcome distinguished Toastmaster Rebecca Plush. So that's one thing what I really do, which we call this pre-speaker's introduction, which is a part of transition. Having said that, you did a very good job. If there was a time, if you had done that introduction, Kaylin would have started her evaluation at 8:38. That would be time precise. All the best, Mandy, and back to you for the rest of the meeting to be completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiru. If I'd been around for the 26, it's more like 2 times that. That's how old I'm closer to. So the next one we're talking about is we've got Joe, who is going to fill us in about our next who's our next Toastmaster for our next meeting. So I will let Joe who will talk about the roles that need to be filled or how we're going with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Our next meeting is a speechathon. Oh my gosh, have we got a lineup for this? Wait for it. We've got Greg, Charith, Harithra, Grace, Sesh, Olfat, Stephen, and Rocky. We've got 8 speakers. It is going to be a fun-packed evening. And then we've got facilitated feedback after that. So even more incredible learnings from this meeting. At the moment, looking at the agenda, all slots seem to have been filled. Please correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but I'm sure I've double checked it. They've all been filled. So just keep timer. Thank you, Kayleen. Somebody needs if somebody would like to time the meeting, that would be incredible. Either let me know or pop it on the agenda. But can't wait for that meeting. Look forward to seeing you all there. Over to you, back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Joe. The speechathon does sound like fun, and the facilitated feedback also sounds like a lot of fun. It will be really good, I think, from what I can tell from all the information that I've been getting. That brings us to the end of our meeting. I'd like to just go over again and thank all our speakers. So we've got Joe, John, and Vongai and Rebecca, who have all done some speeches, and then we've got Alex and Kayleen, who did our evaluations as well, along with Kiru and Grace. So thank you for doing all of that. And with that, I don't think we need to go back to our president, so I can call the meeting closed.